who doesn't have a product in the marketplace? Who thinks growth hacking is applicable to them who doesn't have a product in the marketplace? Very good, I like that. Okay, awesome. So everyone's awake, everyone's ready? All right, let's get going. So what is growth hacking? What is it? Who is it? And how do you do it? So before I even get started, let me tell you a little bit about me. I've been growth hacking for about 10 years. I work with venture-backed startups from all the way from the pre-seed stage, so where most of you guys are at, to the seed and the Series A stages. Whatever clients have actually taken on, they've actually all gone from each phase to the next phase, following the basic principles and frameworks that we're going to talk about today, and how they've been able to take their product, their initial product, what it was at day one, and evolve it. This is one of the most critical points of growth hacking, is understanding what the marketplace is telling you, learning from that, and being able to change and react to the marketplace to make sure it all works and to start moving forward. So before we get going, so what is a growth hacker? So growth hacker, as I told you, is focused on discovering product to market fit, the evolution of your product. What it is at day one and what it is at days 10 is going to be completely different, and what it is 4 years from now, I promise you, will be completely different as well. Because you will be constantly gathering information, learning from the marketplace, and changing and optimizing in order to make sure that you're constantly growing the business. You're always in search of the aha moment. What is the aha moment, you ask? The aha moment is the moment the user understands exactly what the heck you're trying to do. What's your real value proposition? The second they get it, the quicker you can get them to that moment, the more retained that user is, and the more active that user becomes, and it's so easy to start driving revenue and referrals out of it. The product features themselves can become acquisition channels. So in growth hacking, your product becomes your acquisition channel. It's critical. It's one of the most fundamental things that has revolutionized how marketing gets done. And lastly, innovative technology-enabled channels of growth. We're in a beautiful age now. We have so much technology, as you guys know, coming out daily, every single day, that opens up new pockets of growth for us to be able to take advantage of it and be able to succeed where no one else hasn't done. And some of the best growth hack happens at the first moment a new technology comes, because it leaves a pocket of opportunity for you to take advantage of it and be able to scale up faster than the competition and get your business to the next stage. So who is a growth hacker? So the reason I'm going to get into this a little bit is for you guys to know how to shift your mindset, right? How to start thinking like how most growth hackers do. And as well as you're growing your team, let's face it, you guys aren't going to do this all on your own. You need to actually invite people, encourage people to become part of your journey and what you need to look for in order to make your team stronger. So this is called a T-shaped skill set. This is what growth hackers pretty much know about. Not to scare you, I'll kind of break it down in each different level. So the base knowledge is basically where they all start off at. They know about statistics, they know about programming, they know about product design, they know about user experience and design, they know about analytics, they know about behavioral psychology, and they also know about branding, positioning, and storytelling. They know all of this already. Most of you guys probably know most of this, by the way. So it's very critical for you to have a good, broad understanding of all of these. The second level is about the marketing skill sets. So it's conversion rate optimization, A/B testing, database querying, Photoshop and wireframing, Excel or Google Sheet modeling, copywriting, and funnel marketing. And lastly, it's the bottom is all the channels. So most growth hackers usually have two areas of strength that they're really good at. One is search engine marketing, one is SEO. I've just highlighted these two. It doesn't have to necessarily be these two. These happen to be the largest channels, by the way, but it doesn't have to be. Display ads, native ads, ASO, so App Store optimization, email marketing, affiliate, social, PR, sales, content marketing, and partnerships. Any questions on the skill sets? Yes.
So basically, is the growth hacker the visionary or the executor?
He's both. He's not only a visionary, he's also an executor, especially at your stage, and he's also kind of helping you brainstorm. So he's doing a lot of things for your company. He's actually helping you think about what are the different experiments that you need to do. Yep.
Kind of multi-skilled person, or he just big team who has
In the early phase, because of where you are, let's face it, the reality is it's going to be a multi-skilled person who's very broad, but as you grow up, so like depending on where you are in your phase, when you get into the seed stage, you start finding people to complement these skill sets, and when you get to Series A, you start growing growth teams. Okay, so, but then the early stage, when you're looking for this person, you're looking for someone who's very broad, who can help you kind of be able to do all of these things, but you also want to make sure he's really good at one or two channels that you believe your market is in.
Yeah, I'm just asking because I'm hiring this
Yep.
guy.
No, I know.
Which skills I should focus that
We're going to get into that, because it really has to do with your market. It really has to, like if you think your market, where your marketing channel component is, where your audience is, so you're going to want someone who's done that before. So you're going to want someone who has a very strong skill set in ASO and kind of can do that for you. That's his major pipeline down, right? But he also needs to know all these other things, otherwise he's not going to be able to kind of complement that skill set for you. Okay. Any other questions before I go? So growth hackers are analytical, as you guys can obviously tell. So why are they analytical? Because they're going to be honest. Because they might have ideas, they might want to be able to do something, but the numbers are what's going to drive them to be able to iterate, to change, to shift focus for you. But at the end of the day, what they really want to do is they want to develop channels that are super predictable for you. So meaning that they can easily switch a light switch on and turn it off whenever you need to. Because once you have a predictable channel and you go to an investor and say, hey, I have channel A, channel B, and channel C that I can turn on and scale up all at the same time because I've historically done it, guess what happens? Funding starts shooting through the roof. Because that's one of the things investors are looking for is a predictable and defensible channel of growth, and your growth hacker is helping you to build this for you. They're also right-brain focused, you know, so they have to be creative. So they have to not be afraid to challenge the status quo. So they're not going to do what everyone else is doing, by the way. If they're like, hey, we're going to do it like this because someone else is doing it, that's not your growth hacker. You don't want that. If they're following suit at what everyone else is doing, they're not going to find a unique opportunity of growth for you. They're very obsessive. They don't give up. They might actually be very annoying, to be quite honest, because they're constantly going to be thinking about your business. They're constantly going to be thinking about your market. They're constantly going to be trying to figure out how to grow your business for you. They're super creative. They're extremely curious, and they're always learning. And they're super excited to tell you about it. So when you meet them, they're going to say, hey, let's try this. Let's do that. If you see that behavior in them, nourish it. That they need that. That's what feeds them, and that's what makes them better for you, and that's what's going to help grow your business. And lastly, their number one superpower of when you're recruiting for this person is they're not afraid to try and figure it out. Meaning that they will do it before your product is even ready. They will go in the marketplace and say and start marketing and trying to bring traffic in, and your product is maybe 6 months out. Maybe the feature is not ready, maybe the API is not ready, maybe whatever you're thinking the product should be is not ready, but the growth hacker will start marketing this way to kind of get you market feedback to see if it even makes sense for you to invest the resources and actually, make the product happen. So that's one of their bigger skill sets, is they will be able to sell for you of what your vision of the product will be tomorrow, right here today, and bring customers in for you at that moment. So let me get into any questions on that, on who to look for? Show of hands, have anyone seen people like this that you have in your networks that you also want to recruit? No? Start looking for them.
Actually, we don't have this skill set in Kenya, we should train it.
We will. I'm coming in summer. We will train it.
Cool. So it's like early stage CEO, right? So.
It's more. It's not just a CEO. It's an early stage. It's a blend of product. It's a blend of engineering. It's a blend of marketing. It's a blend of strategy. It's like they're like in there with you, and they have to be passionate about. You have to be bought into your vision, right? If they're not bought into your vision of what you're trying to do with robots, and you have to also be open. You have to be open and say, hey, maybe Robin is not going to be the robot that's going to be walking around in the marketplace. But maybe Robin's brain will be. Maybe Robin in a hologram might be. Like, I don't know where Robin would go, but you need to be open where the market would take it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Any other questions before I go on?
Are we going to talk about how to find this person where they hang out, or No, but seriously, like what's like the common education? Like
The common education is they initially might even start off in engineering or product, and they evolve into marketing very quickly. So they're all over the place. There's so many of them out there now. There's like blogs out there that you can go and try to recruit them. You can like do job postings. You can do whatever you want to do to try to find them. But the core of who you will find at your stage is you'll probably see them amongst yourselves, to be quite honest. And that's what's going to end up happening is at this early stage of where you are, it's really about being open with each other and when we get into tactics, I'm going to actually challenge you guys to talk about different things you've all tried, to be really open and creative, to be able to brainstorm and come up with lots more ideas. Because you all are growth hackers, by the way. By the time I'm done, you will all be growth hackers. I promise you. You will not be afraid and you will be growth hackers. Okay? So what's the first and most important thing? Who the heck is your customer, right? And when I say who's your customer, so this is a customer persona, we're gonna call him Jim. And when someone asks you who is your customer, it's not, hey, he maybe is straight of phishing attacks and he's a fintech startup, I think, and or maybe he's a host. That's not your customer. It's who is your customer? Who is he? What are his emotional triggers? Who is he at the core of that person? And that's what you're really looking for. So I'm going to give you an example of Jim. Jim is a train driver in London, loves to travel. Due to working part-time, he often goes away and explores new places in Europe. He always leaves booking his travel and accommodation to the last minute. He's 55, he's married and has one child. He's a train driver, he lives in London. He's frustrated. Expensive last-minute travel and accommodation, has to look at multiple sites to find the best deal, struggles to book both travel and accommodations at the same time. What he wants is affordable travel and accommodation on a short notice and spend as little time as booking. So, do you guys know who Jim is now? Can you guys think of ways to sell him? Can you guys think of where he would be hanging out, where he would be online? This is why customer persona is really important. So you really have to build it out to this core of an element on a framework level, because once you do, it forces you to think about it. It forces you to think about what channels can I find Jim on? What marketing message is he going to be drawn to? And you stay super hyper focused to make sure that you're only going after Jim and not the whole world. I've been to a few of your websites, by the way. Some of you are going after the whole world. And it's not about the whole world. You need to be super, super zoned in on who your persona is and just stay focused on them. Just to keep on going after them if you believe that's the person who's going to go after your market, and it's very critical to make sure you're talking directly to them. Yep.
Actually, are there any tools that I can post my typical customer LinkedIn profiles and they will find the persona for me, create it for me?
Yeah, there's different persona things, but the way you're going to learn about your persona is, you know how? Actually talking to your customers. Actually talking to your users and interviewing them. Getting front and forward, and you'll have hypotheses of who your users are, but you actually need to get them on the phone. And in the early set of where you guys are where you're at, you're supposed to do things that are not scalable, by the way. You are supposed to get on the phone and talk to them. You are supposed to get in front of them and have conversations with them. Because the more intelligence you gather at this stage, the more smarter you will be to build scalable ideas. So it's very, very critical at this particular stage where you guys are at to not be afraid. There was another question.
How do you generalize with Jim in case of B2C, not B2B? For example, if it's B2B, you can just call 20 of your potential customers.
Perfect. I'll show you, it's one of the tactics on D2B specifically, where we ended up speaking to 500 CTOs, predominantly like at Experian and all of those different things, but I'll get into it, I promise. It's a great question, and I'll show you how you can do it. Before a product was even ready. It was an idea. Okay? Any other questions? No? Okay. So who's heard of the PIRE framework, or the R framework? Show of hands. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So the R framework is your funnel. It was started by Dave McClure, 500 startups a few years back. And basically, this is what growth hackers are obsessed about at all times. Meaning that every experiment they're doing, they're thinking about how does it affect each one of these different levels of your customer journey, okay? So the first step is acquisition. How the heck do you find them? Where are they? You know, where the users are, all of those things. That's the first step. The second step is activation. How do you actually make them become engaged users? The third step is retention. Do they come back? The fourth step is revenue, and the last step is referral, okay? So this is the full journey. Today I'm going to talk about acquisition, you know, later on in the presentation, and I'm going to get into tactics there. I'm going to talk about activation, some of the best practices to implement there. And then lastly, I'm going to get into a little bit of our retention. Okay, so that's what I'm going to try to cover in all of today's conversation. But everything you do from this point on, if you want to be a growth hacker, you have to think about where it is in the funnel that I'm affecting. Any questions on this before I go on? So this is the bullseye framework. So this is used to this was started by Gabriel Weinberg. This was used to kind of throw all of your ideas on the wall and start thinking of where your customer would be, okay? So going back to the customer persona, you come up with multiple channels where you think your customer can exist, and you don't do any of them. I know, critical, right? You don't do any of them at all, yeah?
Can we have the slide after the presentation?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't do any of them, and then eventually what you do is you start, depending on your time and your resources, you pick one. At your stage, you literally just pick one. And you pick one where you think most of your customers will be, and you start testing that. And then you leave this all there, because what you will eventually start realizing is that some of these don't work, and some of them you need to refine, and some of them you try all over again. So that's the bullseye framework. This is the hook framework. This is, who has an app? Raise your hand. All right. You guys need to know this in and out. This is one of the most critical things for any app developer who wants to get an active user base. This is far stuff. I'm sorry? Nir Eyal. You guys know who he is?
I'm reading his blog, Near and Far.
Near and Far, yep. His blog is Near and Far. He has a book called Hook. This is one of the most, honestly, if you have an app, if you don't follow his guidelines, you're missing out. That's all I'm going to tell you, is you're going to regret it. That's all I'm going to tell you. So Facebook implemented this. Pretty much any app that causes behavioral psychology and gets people hooked, and they constantly want to go in and use it, are following this framework. And so what this framework does is it looks at trigger. A trigger looks at both internal and external. Internal is, again, the core of who you are, right? So why are you doing what you're doing? Action, variable reward, and investment. So this is kind of the hook cycle that someone goes through. And Facebook does this all day long to you, and you don't even know it. Twitter does this all day long to you. YouTube does this all day long to you. Pretty much a cell phone designed the way it is does this all day long to you, and you have no idea, okay? So this is critical for you guys to understand these concepts, and I can get into these a little bit more as we get to retentions.
We'll go to the example.
Yep, we'll. Any questions on these so far?
Yeah, but there are like a couple of people who are actually arguing that it's a bad thing to hook people on products because they are bringing you to some level that it's an addiction. Actually, like Sean Parker is telling that, like Facebook, what they did, they didn't realize that, well, they realized that it will hook people in such a way that sort of they will waste their life in Facebook, but they did it.
Yep.
So then it comes to
It's more
So,
sort of
so are
morality.
you a moral person, or are you here to grow a business and make it big?
in between.
In
I
between?
think it should be in between.
Okay. So let me tell you, you started a business, and right now, so I want you to change your mindset, right? You started a business.
I need to change my mindset.
So you
because
started a business.
At some point I'm stuck. Wow, this is not moral.
So your
shit, I
business
shouldn't
right
do
now
it.
is dead.
Yeah.
Every one of your businesses right now are dead. I literally want you to think that. Okay? You have nothing to lose. It's a dead body. It's just dead. Your job right now is to get it to stand up. That's literally your job right now, and you have absolutely nothing to lose in order to get it to stand up.
Yeah.
So it's one of the more things, like I know there's philosophical debates of why are you hooked on Facebook, why are you hooked on Snap, why are you hooked on Twitter? Yeah, of course. Why are you hooked on this, why are you hooked on that? The reality is you're hooked because they're following this framework.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it. And the reality is human nature, because this was done by a behavioral scientist, and he got to the core of it, right? He got to what causes human nature to go through all these different steps of it. They followed this exact model and they're continuing to implement it day in and day out. Every new feature release that they do is to only get you more hooked into their product.
Yeah.
So finally, this is high tempo testing framework. This is pretty much done by Sean Ellis. So he's sort of like the godfather of growth hacking. So a lot of what I'm talking to you guys about today stem from him. So he's kind of my the person I'm like, oh yeah, awesome. He's my hero. So what he really talks about is similar to Agile framework and how to do really fast experiments. Because growth hacking, to be honest, is about being able to test, measure, and kind of go through this cycle as fast as you can. And when I say fast, I'm talking about within 5 days. So literally you're testing, you're experimenting, you're getting data, you're making sure you get to a significant sample size, and you're deciding if it works and it doesn't work. If it works, great, you continue. If it doesn't work, then you try to go look back at the data and say, what can I do differently to get it to work the next time? So that's kind of this whole framework circle over here. Any questions? No? All right, finally, the fun stuff, tactics. All right. So I'm going to break this down into the R framework. So first, acquisition tactics. So acquisition is about how do you find users. So it's really about distribution channels or tactics that bring users to you. So remember in that T shape, it was the bottom layer, and it's all kind of going to that. So there are 3 types. I call them the three P's. There's the pull, which you all should be doing at this stage because it's typically free. So I'm assuming you're all bootstrapping or everyone's bootstrapping, or is anyone raised? Like who's raised money here so far? One? Only one? How much have you raised? So you're bootstrapping. So everyone's bootstrapping, so everyone's doing pull. So push is paid, you will get there. There are ways I'll show you how to do paid, by the way. I'll give you an example, it's not here. How to do paid that won't cost you any money. I know it's kind of crazy to think that, but there's ways of doing paid that won't cost you any money. And there's product, all right? So the product is what we all talk about. So in the pull strategies, here are 16 different ones, and this list keeps on growing all the time. I would love to know how many of these you guys are doing. So there's SEO, so there's blogging and guest posting, podcasting or guest posting, ebooks, guides and white papers, infographics, webinars, crowdsourcing platforms, conference presentations, social media, contests, marketplaces, deal sites, email outreach, utility apps, forum answers, and LOPA, which is leveraging other people's audiences. So, show of hands, is everyone doing at least one of these? All right, good, all right, this is good. So, is anyone doing more than 2 of these?
More than 2.
More than 2, okay. Is anyone doing more than 3 of these? More than 3, very good. Is anyone doing 4 of these? Four? 4. Okay, cool. So now everyone that raised their hand that are doing 4 of these, which give us one example of one growth hack that you've done, or how are you doing how are you doing one of these? Go ahead.
So it's very simple. We know that our potential clients are very active on Instagram. Our product is a B2B.
Okay.
And these businesses, they are very active on Instagram because that's how their customers find them. So sometimes we just follow them and write something nice, and they just follow back, and then they just check our website, and they come and request a demo, so they become a lead.
So you're basically follow backing strategy, is that what you're doing?
Not follow back, but we always say something, just leave a nice comment or something.
Okay.
That's how, yeah.
So is it working?
Attention. Yeah.
It's working? Okay,
Yeah.
that's a
So
cool
far it's
hack.
working.
I like it. Who else had it? You had your hand up?
I'm actually doing Quora. Using Quora, it works for me good. Sometimes do code computing, blogging, and we always do several optimizations on our website.
So Quora I like. So how are you finding which topic to blog on Quora? What tools are you using?
Just Quora search.
Quora search?
Yeah.
So do you know if it's already ranking on it on Google and it has a lot of traffic on it? Are you paying attention to those or no?
No, I have no lot of traffic, but usually when I'm transferring, it makes me from 6 up to 10 registrations.
6 to 10? Okay. So the way I would improve your growth hack is there's a tool called Ahrefs, Ahrefs, and I'll tell you how to improve your hack with it. So Ahrefs, you can go back and you can search Quora, and you can see which pages are getting a lot of traffic on Quora. You can actually sort it by traffic numbers and find specifically your audience and go to those posts and do a very long post. When I say a long post, like 1,000 words, 1,500 words, what that will cause is people will notice that post because it will rank automatically and you will move up on the Quora and you'll already be getting the natural SEO traffic. So this is an SEO hack. I've done this exact strategy for someone else. I've done this 4 times. All 4 times it's generated over 40,000 visitors. And all 4 times it's been consistent and keeps on working. On your hack, there are tools out there that you can actually buy for super cheap, like $80. That will do exactly what you're telling it to do. It's AI driven. You will teach it and you will go and do all of this for you. You can download actually the whole list of people you wanted to scrape or you wanted to follow, and you can kind of start automating this component of it, and this could kind of run it off on its own. So then who else had their hands up? Can you had your hand up?
Basically, we are a mobile app and we do apps for optimization. We play with the keyboards, we run experiments, especially on Google Play, and we see each one brings more traffic. So that's mostly what we do.
So is every time you do, so are you ranking on the keywords right now on Google Play?
Yes.
You are ranking? So you're getting enough downloads, you're happy?
Not, never happy, so looking to increase. Yeah, but after each experiment we kind of 10% growth here.
Okay, so do you know on Google Play backlinks are actually important too, right? Are you aware of that or no? On Google Play, backlinks are actually important. So on the Apple Store, they're not, but on Google Play, so what I would do is I would find the keywords. So I would hypothesize and by the way, search on app stores is very focused. So it's like, let's say if you were a loan company, right? It's not business loans or it's not personal loans, it's literally loans. People don't do a very long tail search on app stores. So I would find the core thing of what is your app.
Actually, the keywords I'm ranking is whiteboard collaboration, interactive whiteboard application.
So teacher tools.
Yeah, it's teacher tools.
So teacher tools. So I would go after that. So like go very simple, basic, okay? Where you want your audience to find you, right? So that's how they're searching right now. They're not advanced. So find and see which one of those are the basic ones. Start using that as your keyword and then start driving backlinks to that, similar to what SEO you would do, and kind of start driving traffic to it. And they'll push you up in the rankings, and it works clean right now in Google Play. On Google Play.
Backlinks, what you mean on Google
You find bloggers that are writing about this, so you can analyze who's actually ranking for these keywords. There's tools out there that will do this for you. You can see who's actually ranking for these, and then you go and reach out to those same blogs and you ask them to do a review on your app, and basically will start moving you up in the ranking system. Obviously in the App Store, retention is really important as well, and active user numbers and all those, which you're already monitoring. But this is a simple hack that's going to start moving you up in rankings. It works right now. I'm doing it for like multiple people, so I'm not giving you something that's not working. Martin, you had your hand up too? What are you doing?
So we do SEO.
Okay.
We do blogging. So we write articles. We put in articles some infographics. Conference presentations on different topics. Social media.
Oh.
And email outreach. We have our newsletter, so which we send to everyone.
Perfect.
Yeah, basically that's it.
Okay. You want any suggestions on any of them, or you're happy with all of your hacks?
I'm not very deep into SEO. My partner is doing, but if there are any advice on SEO?
There's a lot. So I gotta look and I'll look and I'll definitely give you advice.
Could you repeat the name of tool?
Ahrefs. A-H-R-E-F-S. Ahrefs. You got it. So here's an example targeted cold outreach that I ran a hack for. Armin might be very familiar with the hack because he didn't even realize the hack was occurring while it was happening in front of him. So let me kind of explain what this hack is. I've left company names out. Armin, please don't say the company name. I've left companies' names out intentionally because I have confidential agreements with all my clients. So that's why they're, but I'll kind of talk to you in general what the hack was, and I'll talk to you what the results were, okay? So the goal here was to find C-level technology executives, so BDB, right? And contact them via cold outreach to program to schedule customer discovery call and get valuable feedback to help shape the product. The product's not even built yet. We have an idea. There is something built, but it's nowhere near where it evolved to. So there was something built, very infant, but not ready for the market. So what the hypothesis was we will get a response rate of about 5% and a schedule rate of 50%. This is completely cold, by the way. We don't know who they are. We're trying to talk to Fortune 500 companies. Like, these are very established, big enterprises, right? And we're nobody. We're like a little, like, we have a whiteboard and we're brainstorming what we want to become, okay? So what do? We scraped LinkedIn and found target customers. We used a tool called GetProspect.io to do the scraping. And we went and found individual people that we actually wanted to talk to. And we got their email addresses. And then now we needed to come up with the emotional trigger, why they would even talk to us, right? So we started looking for and found a university. You guys don't even need to find a university because you guys could use, you know, you're part of this cohort or you're part of this program, whatever it might be. And we also, at the same time, we're looking for a university-sponsored grant program so we can use that to entice people to talk to us. And then we started using Google Sheets and automated this and kind of made this kind of work. We only ran it on a small sample size, 500 people. To be honest, we could have ran it more. We had to stop because we had calls from morning to night and we couldn't even go to the bathroom or eat lunch. So that's what it had turned into. Those were the final results of this, okay? So we ended up sending 500. The open rate was 70%, response rate was 22%, and booking rate was 71%. We talked to executives. So when I say executives, I'm talking about a CTO or chief information officer. These are just 4 examples, but I'm talking about, we talked to over 200 people. It was like insane. And it kept on going. What we learned is we stopped building. We literally stopped building what we were working on. And we said, oh, shit, we're building something that completely the marketplace doesn't want. That was the first important lesson that we learned. But we also, the second thing we learned is, holy shit, the market really wants this other thing, right? So what we ended up doing is we started shifting focus, we started building the second thing, and we got funding for the second thing just on this strategy. Like, we had 0 customers, 0, zilch. We just sent 500 emails, we collected all the data, and we got funding. So just want to like tell you how crazy that is, but that's exactly what we did, and that's exactly what happened.
Just to repeat it.
Could you please elaborate more on what was your strategy, on what kind of tone in emails you're using? Are your emails short or they are longer?
Very short, and I would basically say the university name and the company name. So I would say, hey, university name, company name, and hi, like, you know, something along the line. So I knew that would cause an open rate, right? Like, oh, why is this university interested in me? So going back to the core of human nature, right? So I had to first think about my customer persona. He's a CTO, so let's go back to Jim, or my customer persona, right? He's a CTO, CIO at a very big Fortune 500 company. He's making maybe $400 to $1 million a year on salary. He has an army of developers and teams he's managing, and he has mid-level executives, so he's probably managing a team of anywhere between, I don't know, 400, 500, 600 people, right? Who is this person? Who's the core of this person? He has an ego, right? He's very proud. He's accomplished. He's done a lot in life, and he's gotten to where he is, and he's super smart, and he wants people to know that he's super smart. I fed into that. I fed into that ego for him to talk. So this goes back to the T, right? The psychology and all of these different things. So the email was, hey, I've been researching senior level executives in the technology space, and I'm extremely impressed with all of the things that you have accomplished. And I'm contacting you from this university grant program, and I would be honored to get a few minutes of your time to talk about an idea and to brush it off of you, to see what you think of the idea as we're trying to put together this white paper. That's all. Not only did these people respond to me, they like told their secretaries, hey, clear my schedule, I want to talk to this person, you know, not 15 minutes, give them an hour. Like that type of responses we were getting. Okay. Any questions on this? By the way, you all should be doing this hack. Please do this tomorrow. Like if you're not doing something along the lines of this tomorrow, literally starting tomorrow, you can do it everywhere. You can do it with, with teachers, right? You can do it with video editors, or, you know, I'm trying to remember all of you can do it with travel bloggers. You can do it with, you can do it, I don't know what industry you want to tackle. You can tackle the sound like yesterday, any industry you wanted, but you can do it in any industry, basically. Who else? The robots, I'm not sure yet, we'll figure that out. You can do it. You can do it anywhere you want. You could do it easily, right? And with any of the, any fintech company, you can easily do this with. Like there's no hands down barrier. Face Hub, I'm not sure, maybe, or Face Hub, I'm not sure, agency. Yours, I don't remember exactly, sorry.
It's fintech.
Fintech, so you can easily do it. We haven't talked about it.
It's again fintech.
Fintech, wow, there's a lot of fintech.
No, no,
This is security.
Beauty salon owners.
Oh, you could easily do it, beauty salon.
From beauty
Alright. So some push strategies, alright. So push strategies are where you spend money. So there's search ads, Google, Bing, display ads, GDN, Gemini, app, video, so on and so forth. Is anyone actually spending money right now advertising? So we got 1, 2.
I've tried it.
You've tried, like, turned it on, turned it off kind of testing? Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you spending a lot, or how much are you spending a month?
No, we don't have much of a budget because we are bootstrapped.
Yeah.
But what worked for us, Facebook works the best in terms of price value.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, we spent around 100K, so $100 per month on Facebook ads.
$100 per month Facebook. Okay. All right. So this obviously takes money. The strategy I have was a money strategy, but I'm gonna talk about one that's not a money strategy. So I can show you. Do you guys want to know about the strategy I did that was a money strategy, and then I'll talk about the no money strategy. That includes spending money. All right. So I'll do the second one will be not a slide. All right. So what we initially did is we did a multi-arm bandit experiment using Facebook and APIs and a third-party experimental tool. So what's a multi-arm bandit? It's a Bayesian model where we started testing tons of images. When I say tons of images, I'm talking about sort of like what Russia did to America, like 100 images, 100 headlines, 100 texts, 100 call to actions, and we ended up creating, you know, an infinite number of variations. And we were running super, super, super small experiments when I'm talking about making decisions based on 400 to 500 impressions. And we ran this for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And what we came back from that is the exact emotional trigger that our target audience would react to. And then we started building all of this around it, which immediately lowered our cost per lead from 100. This was a fintech startup, by the way, $100 to $8. So it was an immediate drop off when I'm talking about
Which one was it?
Huh?
Which one was it?
I can't tell you what.
Abrams?
Fintech. It was a fintech. It was a
Consumer and fintech?
Business facing.
Oh, okay.
Business facing. So it brought it down from $100 to $8.
How much you spend on each experiment? I mean, maybe I spent
Uh,
more than that. But
So each CPM right now was costing us at that time $12 to $15. So we were running at a 500 impressions, so $6 to $750, somewhere in that range. And then you don't have to do 100. You could do like 5, 10. You know what I mean? You can kind of narrow the focus down and do this. So what did that turn into? And this slide actually is now raising. This slide right now is raising a Series A for this startup. So this is what we ended up building. It also developed a strategic partnership for that startup that is going to be in the tune of $100 million. So this is kind of where this evolved into, all right? So what we ended up doing, this is one growth hack, by the way. One simple growth hack that's now, going to excel the company's valuation all that. So what we ended up doing is there's online steps and offline steps in this journey, and we automated all of this. And we learned that Facebook has an algorithm, right? Google has an algorithm. So we started taking advantage of their algorithm to our benefit. And the way you take advantage of all these algorithms is to feed it data, as you all know. The more data you give this damn algorithm, the smarter it gets. The more right type of algorithm you give it, the more intelligent it gets. So that's what we started doing. We initially were doing through online conversion pixels, which is the basic, which is what most everyone does. And then we started moving deeper into the funnel. Remember that giant funnel I showed you, the R framework? We started going level by level by level by level, deeper into the funnel. And now we've all evolved all the way to post-close. So after they become a customer, now we're looking at behavior data. What are they doing after we've closed them? Are they like a good participant into our platform? Are they active, engaged users? And we're starting to feed that data back into it. We're also using this concept and we're rolling it out now into Google and YouTube. The same data, the same audience metrics. We built a growth engine, so we're now just piping it into YouTube and it's working, and we're piping it into Google and it's working. So that same core concept is working across multi-channel. And now we're about to start rolling it out onto direct mail. So we're about to take all of these learnings that we're getting, right? Because what did we learn? We learned what the emotional triggers are. We learned what images people react to. We learned what headlines people react to. We learned what text people react to. And we know exactly how to sell to them in a way that brings the exact users that we want. So we're now going to start testing this on direct mail and radio. That's post Series A. And eventually we're going to start expanding this into new audiences. So this is the growth tech. Okay? Any questions on this? Okay, so the same customer, I'll give you another. So by the way, so to give you numbers, go to the next slide. It lowered overall CAC 60% below the industry standard. This is why investors want to invest in this. So everyone else is at this number, right? I'll tell you the real numbers. Everyone else is at $2,500. That's how much it costs them to close this type of customer. We're closing this customer at $1,000. And investors in this space see that. They're like, holy shit, what are you guys doing that's causing this type of major shift in your CAC, basically, right? We also did something that's crazy. We basically, in this industry, in this space, no one makes money until the second time a customer buys something. And that journey from first acquisition to second acquisition is 9 months. So think about that. You spend all of this money, right? You get this customer in, and then you have to wait 9 months to get your money back. All right, that's what happens in this industry. So it causes cash flow to be a big pain point, right? What we did is we figured out how to make it profitable on day one. So literally the customer who closes with us, which takes about 14 days, is profitable from the first product that they take from us, from day one. And how did we do that? Is we also evolved the product, by the way, to get there. And then lastly, our LTV to CAC is over 2.5, and we basically figure out how to develop this low-scale intent strategy delivery systematically. So this is a growth hack today in the marketplace that's bringing in a valuation. I think the company is going to be in the tune of 40 million when it's all said and done, right? So Think about how you can apply these same concepts to whatever you guys are working on, because it works. And then every time I'm telling you these things, because I've done this across the board, by the way. I've gone from one company to the next company, and I've told them, hey, do this. They went and did it, and guess what? It worked for them too. So just think about how you can use the same ideas and make it work for you. Any questions on this? Yep.
What's the most cost-effective acquisition channel from this from paid options?
Affiliates. Figuring out an affiliate partnership, because there's no money going out for you, but you have to really know your CAC. So you really have to zone in, and I'll get into what CAC. Do you guys know what CAC is?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So you really have to know your CAC, and you really have to like have it fine-tuned. But affiliates is the most scalable for you guys at this stage. That you guys can just like find them and bring them in, and kind of incentivize them to bring, do it for you. Because it costs you no money, basically.
So are that affiliates and bloggers?
It varies by space. There's performance marketing people in certain different industries, but yeah. So I would look at like share sales and network, CJs and network, max bounties and network. There's actually networks out there, and you would partner with a network. You pay them maybe $500 to get established into the network, and then you pay them a percentage of the revenue that's generated. So that's kind of how you do it. Any other questions? Okay. So before I get into product, I'll give you another one in this space that. So I just told you it cost $1,000. So what would you think if I told you now that same customer, we just developed another growth hack that's going to cost them $0 in a paid channel? All right. So how do we do it, right? Like how the hell do we go from 1,000 to 0?
Too good to be
To
true.
0.
How much does the development of that?
This one, you guys are developed. You guys can develop this, no? No, but what it really cost us marketing spend-wise, because that's I think what you're really asking, is we were willing to spend about $10,000 to $15,000 in marketing just to learn. Once we learned, it was paying for itself. So the problem with paid channels is if you don't get your CAC right, and you don't get your LTV to CAC right, and you don't get to day one profitability, you're losing money. But if you do it right, and this is for bootstrapping businesses, and by the way, it's very critical to know your numbers if you're bootstrapping and you're spending money. If you do get it right, it can pay for itself, and it's super scalable. Okay? So the same customer, what we learned was we wanted to run Google ads. All right? So this is a low intent strategy. You guys know what I mean by that? Low intent versus high intent? Low intent is like watching television or listening to the radio. You're not thinking about, oh man, someone's going to do a phishing attack on me, right? Like you're not actively going and trying to solve that problem. High intent is you've already decided and you're going to go solve this problem for yourself. The reality on paid channels, high intent is super expensive. Like I'm talking about 5-6 times more expensive than low intent. Because you know that everyone's bidding for it. So we now decided to do this in a high intent channel, and we decided to go on a very broad keyword, all right? So what we initially did is we ran a small experiment to see who was bidding on this keyword and what type of things they were bidding on. This particular customer is in the business loan space, all right? So when I did that experiment, I learned quickly that, holy moly, out of the 100 people that became leads, 98 of them are not even qualified for this. Only 2 were, right? So this is gonna be super expensive unless I can get the entrepreneur to agree to change the business model. And this is why I say, hey, you guys need to be like mendable to new ideas of doing business. So we transformed their business model in a very super lean way of testing. And what we basically did is we said, okay, if I have 98 leads that come in, can I become an affiliate? Can I find other people who are willing to buy my personal leads from me that allows me to break even or pays for my cost of acquiring this particular business loan customer, right? So we ran this experiment in month 1, we lost money. We lost $4,000, $5,000. Month 2, we basically made money just a little bit. And what was the drastic changes? We found the right partners. And month 3, now we're going to actually make money and it's going to cost us nothing. So what I'm getting at is you might be bidding on a keyword that's super competitive, and you might be getting all these unqualified leads, But if you could figure out how to take these unqualified leads and you yourself become an affiliate, find someone else who's willing to pay you for it, that person might end up paying for your own acquisition. Okay? All right, some product strategies are network invitations, API integrations, platforms, backlinks, and incentives. Are any of you guys doing any of these things across the board on any of your products? What are you doing? Backlinks?
Yeah, we have tried to write some releases about our achievement.
Are people using it? Are your users using that or they're not using it? No, they're not. Okay.
API integrations and the referral program.
And how are those doing?
We just started, so I probably can be able to transfer more credit like 2 months.
Okay. The reason I bring it up is product strategies. This is, remember in the beginning I said it's a moment in time where some concepts work. And it's a very brief moment because eventually what ends up happening is people catch on to that concept and the network you're taking advantage of doing these things, particularly on the platform one, goes away. So I'm going to show you some of the most famous ones. So backlinks initially was Amazon with their affiliate program. So that was the most famous one. That was the first growth hack, by the way. So Amazon started with the affiliate program, and what they did is they created a widget that bloggers can put their books onto that widget, and they can start getting paid to basically go out and promote Amazon. So that's the first growth hack. Second one was Hotmail with signature email. P.S. I love you. Join Hotmail for free. Everyone knows about that hack. That was only a brief moment in time. It's not going to work again, but enjoy it. That was a brief moment in time. All right. The third one was platform. So platform. So I want to highlight PayPal. They did 2 different ones at the same time. Impressive, right? They launched PayPal with eBay, and they also launched PayPal $5 bonus for member and new members. So that happened concurrently at the same time. The next one was incentives, which is Dropbox with the free storage. Okay. And then lastly was network invitations, LinkedIn with contact info. All right. Activation tactics. I'm going to go super fast now because I'm running short on time. So do users have a great first experience? Do they like, trust, and try your solution or the problem? Visitors to your product complete a desired task. The fewer the goals, the better. So remember, this is level 2, right? So these are the type of activation tactics that people can do. Landing pages, copywriting, call to action, onboarding, gamification, pricing strategies. And here, I'm going to highlight one of the things for landing pages because everyone gets this wrong. So these are the best practices for landing pages. So one landing page for each audience segment. So you don't want one landing page and that's it. You literally want one for each customer persona and each audience segment, even in each channel. You want simple, clear, and be direct, communicate to your audience. You want a call to action. You want to know the internal triggers. You want super limited navigations. There should be no way of them getting off of your landing page unless they move forward into what you want them to do. You want trust symbols. At this point, it's kind of silly for you to design desktop first. Like you should be designing everything mobile first. So think of everything you do, design mobile. You want strong emotional imagery. Don't be afraid to humanize the brand. So put people on that page. Put either yourself, your customers, it needs to be humanized. Trying to do corporate brand selling at your stage is silly. It's super silly. At this early stage of where you guys are at, you really need to become the brand or you need to make your customers become the brand. So you need to full on humanize it and put your customers front and forward and you become the guides. All right, so you're educating them.
What do you mean by trust symbols?
Trust symbols would be, hey, I'm part of this cohort in Armenia or I'm part of this. Things that other people who would say would be like, hey, okay, I respect this business, right? I'm not afraid to trust this business. So for you, for salons, it would be other customers that are speaking, or if any bloggers have written about it, or any review sites have written about it. All of these other activities you're doing, you need to highlight it on this page so people are aware of it. Retention tactics. So retention is turning users of product into active and habitual users. They become hooked to your product. Retention helps drive up LTV and further fuels your growth cycle. So what I want to highlight here is, remember that funnel again? The acquisition, activation, retention. Out of those 3, what do you think is the most important?
Retention.
Activation.
Retention.
I'm curious. Acquisition, show of hands. Acquisition,
Most important.
most important. Acquisition.
Without acquisition, nothing will follow. Actually.
Yeah, but
Okay.
Amazon can have like billions of users coming, no transactions.
Yeah.
Okay. So activation, who thinks activation? All right. And who thinks retention?
I guess it's.
All right. So if I had to tell you which one is the most important, they're all important. But retention is the most important that you have to get right before you scale. So if you don't have retention right, it's silly for you to scale because all you're doing is you're just burning more and more resources
Yeah.
and you're not getting to the next level. But all three are good. So how do you track and monitor? So obviously KPIs, I'm going to be fast. Everyone knows KPIs? I already talked about it? Yes? Okay, good. Does everyone know viral coefficient?
Yeah.
But yeah.
K factor?
Yeah, K
Yeah.
factor.
Mhm.
Does everyone know what it is? Do you guys want me to talk about it or not really? Yes?
Maybe few words.
Very few words. Okay, K factor is basically measuring the last phase, which is referral, and does your product market itself? All right, are other people starting to organically talk about your product? So for example, for every 10 customers that they bring in 15, your viral coefficient is 1.5. All right. The goal here is to be positive. It's super hard to do, so don't be depressed if you're like 0.2, which is very common for most people. It's one of the hardest things to get right. All right. So this is that's what the K factor is. LTV, everyone know what LTV is? Are you guys sure? Okay. This is one of the most important metrics that picks everything.
Lifetime value?
Yep.
Like how much revenue it brings in 12 months.
How much revenue this particular customer or this particular cohort is going to bring in you in an expected period, whatever that is.
Sliding out from
Yeah.
your platform.
Yep. So this is critical because if you do into paid strategies or you do any strategies, you need to know this number. Everyone knows it? Yep. Okay. CAC. Everyone knows how to calculate CAC? Okay, good. Tools, and tools. I'm about to show you what growth hacking is all about. Ready? Here's a laundry list of tools. 1 page, 2 page, 3 page. The point I'm trying to make here is there's a shitload of tools out there. So growth hackers are not afraid to find the most unique tool. And remember in the early one, I found that experimental tool that drove that startup's valuation to whatever it's going to be now, right? Don't be afraid. Like literally you don't need to build these tools. They exist out there. That's the beautiful part of where we are at today. There's another person trying to make a tool that needs people who need to use it. And you're like, hey, I'm willing to use your tool to become your beta, right? To tell you how it works, it doesn't work, and they'll do that swap with you any day, right? So don't be afraid to find the right tool for the right job. This is like construction, right? Like you're not going to use a hammer to cut a board. So you got to like literally find the right tools to be able to use for what you're trying to do.
Would you suggest to go just release tools rather than paying for established ones? Like each tool is free or
There's a time and place for just release tools and established ones. And the reason I say that some of like the established tools I have listed here, you know the data quality is going to be accurate. You're going to be able to build intelligent decisions off of it. You're going to be able to build your competitive strategy around it. You're going to be able to see what the marketplace is doing. So you have a very good visibility of what's happening. Okay. Finally, I'm going to wrap it up real quick. So I put a nice little book club for you. So most of the concepts I talked about here are coming out of actually most of these books listed here. So here are all the different books that was summarized in this presentation for you. So if you haven't read any of these books, the ones I would start with is 4 Steps to the Epiphany and Lean Startup, by far, are the ones I would start with. Have you all read these? Have an idea of these books? Good. Awesome.
Martin send us to read everyone.
You have the same list?
No, first one.
First two.
First two? Okay. So,
Leads out after. Further
so all of these these are framework books. These are behavioral psychology books. These are everything that I kind of talked about. We'll get in much more detail.
Isn't that the user onboarding strategy?
Any questions?
Guys, being an entrepreneur, it means you need to have always
Thank you,
very
guys.
solid looking this. If you go read, you are the chef in your.
Any questions? Yes.
What's your opinion on cold calls, some do's and don'ts?
I would start with cold email before cold call. That's my opinion.
Email companies for
Okay,
so
perfect.
send me the presentation.
Yeah, of course.
And
So I would do cold emails before I do cold calls.
right, and on cold call, once you get on a cold call, are there any recommendations what to say, what not to say on the first?
In the beginning, I wouldn't try selling.
Okay,
So in the beginning, without
try to find their problem.
what you want to learn is their problem.
Mhm.
So in the beginning, it's really about understanding what their pain point is, what their problem is, and all you literally should be doing in the beginning is asking questions. So you want to be asking as many questions as you possibly can to find out what's keeping them up at night and what's their true pain point and what are they really suffering with. Because if you can figure out what they're suffering, and this is going back to that one startup that rotated, right? Like did a complete pivot and now started raising money because of the pivot. And all we literally did was ask questions.
But if you didn't receive a response on that cold email, would you make a cold call?
No,
No.
no. So there's things you can do to increase your response rate. Like you can literally start doing boosted posts about your company if you wanted to, and targeting that. Remember, I showed you how to scrape their information, right? So you'll have the email, you'll be able to do targeted ads, you'll be able to zone in on that person to make sure that they see it, right? Because you'll have frequency numbers. So I already gave you one of the biggest secrets in growth hacking is you can actually advertise to whoever you want to advertise.
Yeah.
You don't have to randomly advertise to people.
What about content marketing, like blogging?
Yeah.
I think it's hard to measure effectiveness soon. So how you deal with this kind of situation? Because
I use blogging in two ways in the funnel.
Mhm.
I use it for acquisition and I use it for activation as well.
Mhm.
And I also potentially sometimes use it for retention, all right? So when I'm writing a blog post, it could go into three different layers, right? So when I'm writing a blog post, if I'm using it for acquisition,
Mhm.
the best thing in SEO you can do today is research who's ranking for that keyword, right?
Mhm.
Who's winning the top 5 spots, the top 6 spots.
Mhm.
Analyze the word length. So analyze how thorough is their article.
Mhm.
Can you skyscrape it? The strategy is called the skyscraping strategy,
Mhm.
which you look at everyone's articles and you come out with how can I make my outline, my article even better
Mhm.
than what exists out there. So you become, the go-to article.
Mhm.
Sometimes this means a longer article.
Mhm.
And then you start going out and doing a backlink analysis and you start backlinking it to get it to rank. So this tactic I just told you works all the time. So I've taken websites that had 0 traffic
Mhm.
to 100 visitors a month just on that tactic alone. And what does that
Mhm.
cost you? It costs you very minimal.
Mhm.
That costs you finding writers, finding ability to have time to reach out to people.
Mhm.
So I don't know how much writers are in Armenia, but I hire my writers in, I'll be honest, South America. I'm just being like very, very transparent and honest with you guys, because I'm hiring writers for like pennies, like
Mhm.
less than 1 cent to work. So I don't know what the translation is for Armenia, and most of these things are kind of being done automatically. So
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah, I know the growth hacking is like endless process, but what is the minimum kind of timeline you say for maybe company? If possible, what is the average budget you kind of spend
it's all the way you
to
should
get
think.
a result or maybe?
You're thinking of it the wrong way.
Yeah,
It's a framework for thinking, and it's a framework for learning, and that's the most critical part of all of this. Remember that first high tempo thing I showed you, where you're going through each different models. Like you first come up with the customer portfolio. That takes nothing. You might even already have it, right? Then when you start experimenting, this is where you start learning, because I just gave you highlights of stuff work. For every one thing that works, 15 don't work, right? But that 15 that didn't work are teaching you along the way of how to get to that one that's going to work. And once that works, it's all about, let's go. You know what I mean? Once you find the one that works, you just end up scaling it. So I don't know if that answers your question.
If you hire a contractor, or maybe yourself, you are not.
Go back to the first section of the slide. Look for the person. not the contractor. Look for their mentality, look for how they think, and make sure they're bought into your vision and your mission. That's what you want, because this is a journey. They're literally going to be part of your team. If you find that, remember I told you they're very passionate, they're very like driven, they're not only analytical, they're creative. Like if they buy into your vision, they will be with you. They'll work for you, like for pennies if they have to, if they believe in where this is going.
Yeah.
That's who you want when you're trying to find the right goal.
Yeah, are there like any strategies and tricks how to sort of motivate the blog owners to do guest posts in their blogs? Because like usually it's like, it happened that they've asked for money, or okay, I will write a blog and for writing I will charge this, or putting a link for you.
The truth is most of them want money. I'm not going to tell you that they don't. So most of them do want money, and it varies by industry and space. But the money, if you actually do the analysis beforehand, you know what it's going to cost you. So it's like building a pipeline, right?
Yeah.
Like you know that, hey, for me to rank on this keyword, I need at least 30 backlinks from domain authority sites that are 40 to 60, right? And once I do an outreach, cold outreach to these blogs, I get the market price, and I start figuring out what that is. And sometimes it's $30, sometimes it's $40, sometimes it's $100. But you learn what the bottom of that market is, and then you know that, hey, it's going to cost me $1,800 to rank for this keyword. And before you spend that $1,800, right, spend $100 on run paid campaigns, just so if you can get the quality traffic that you need, or whatever it might be, and then invest in it. That's the truth. I'm not going to tell you that it's bullshit. People pay for backlinks. That's the reality of this. Okay? Any other questions?
When are you coming for?
I'll be there from June, potentially all the way through July. I don't know yet. We're still finalizing. Any recommendations where to stay? My ass now. Where should I stay?
Airbnb near Cascade.
Cascade?
Yeah, in Yerevan it's downtown is small and
Everything is
affordable. It's
Okay.
nice.
Awesome.
And
And
you can't go wrong.
perfect. So if you guys can email me, that'd be great. My contact information is there if you guys need it. Double tree? Okay. Okay, cool. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Huh?
Sure.
Shouldn't go.